If this video picks up even a little bit of attention, leave me a comment. I welcome any sort of opinion from anyone. Even if you're Team Jess, I just hope you don't hate me. First, try to see my way, and then, leave me a little bit of a less aggressive comment, please. Let's start off with a bang, getting all the girlies mad. Jess Mariano is as toxic as a barrel of radioactive waste, and no matter how buff and handsome Milo gets, he's still trash. Now, before you run into the comments to yell at me how empty-headed I am and how I don't understand that a character can make mistakes and learn from them and grow and be good, let me remind you of one simple thing. Jess tried to R-word Rory. If this was an SVU episode, Olivia Benson would be all over Jess's ass trying to get him at least registered as a sex offender for that. And I don't know about you, but I take Queen Olivia very seriously.
You like bracelets as trophies? Try these.
So here's the evidence to build my case. Episode 6, Season 1, you got Rory's birthday parties. This episode takes place on and around October 8th, 2000, Rory's birthday. Episode 5, Season 2, Nick and Nora and Sid and Nancy. This episode depicts Rory excited for her very first day on their second year attending Chelton. Usually in the US, school starts around late August and early September. In this case, 2001. So that's when we're considering that this episode takes place. Also, in this episode, Luke tells Lorelai that his 17-year-old nephew will be coming to town and staying with him indefinitely. Episode 10, Season 2, The Bracebridge Dinner. This episode involves the whole town going to a party at the Independence Inn. Rory talks to Jess about going back home to New York since school is out. This tells us that winter break has already begun. This info lets us calculate that this episode takes place between December 20th, 2001 and January 2nd, 2002. All of these calculations and guesstimations are done using Google because I don't live in the US, so I have to, do a little bit of research. Episode 1, Season 3, Lazy, Hazy, Crazy Days. This episode has Rory fresh from her summer in Washington, D.C. and the town celebrating their first annual Stars Hollow End of Summer Madness Festival. Lorelai meets Taylor and tells him he finally found a way to fill September's calendar of events in town. Plus, we can confirm this episode takes place around September 2002, since on the very next episode, Rory is already back in school. Episode 6, Season 3, Tech the Deviled Eggs. Jess gets a new car. Let's put a pin on this episode for now. We'll talk about it later. Episode 9, Season 3, A Deep-Fried Korean Thanksgiving. This episode is all about Thanksgiving, which took place in 2002 on November the 28th. Episode 10, Season 3, That'll Do, Pig. In this episode, Rory goes to the Stars Hollow Winter Carnival, and snow is covering the town, so we can safely deduce that winter has already begun. Guesstimating the episode taking place around December or January. We also see Richard celebrating his birthday with the family, and a quick Google search tells us that Richard's birthday is in January, so we're going with that. The episode takes place on January 2003. Episode 18, Season 3, Happy Birthday Baby. This episode is all about Lorelai's birthday, which is on April 25th, 2003 in this case. Episode 19, Season 3, Keg, Max. Here, Jess pushes Rory onto a bed, and while she repeatedly tries to get Jess to slow down, he tries to undo her belt without her consent. Until Rory finally can get from under him, Jess reacts angrily, making Rory cry, confused and overwhelmed, so she leaves the room in a rush. This episode happens approximately around late April or early May. They're around 20 months after Luke tells Lorelai that Jess is 17, so he definitely has had a birthday already, making him 18 years old or older by the time that the thing in Kyle's bedroom happens. One big plot hole that I believe that Palladino's added to protect a bit of Jess's reputation just in case someone annoying like me took this incident too seriously and threatened Book Boy with felon charges is on episode 6 from Season 3, when Jess gets his new car. Here he asks Luke to sign his registration paper, telling him he needs the signature because he's still a minor. This is not true. Not only is just a perv, but he's also a little bit stupid and cannot remember his own birthday. Also, according to our Lord and Savior Google, any minor that wants to register a car under his name needs a parent or guardian to sign for him. True, but this signature needs to be notarized, so Jess's registration papers are not fully legal. Basically, this whole thing was to prove to you that Jess was an adult at the time that the thing in Kyle's bedroom happened, She did say, stop, slow down, and he wouldn't let go. And he also tried to undo her belt. All the meanwhile, she was trying to pull away and she was telling him to slow down. So the Paladinos wrote something in that unfortunately they could never take back. He tried to rape Rory. In my opinion, Jess is an unredeemable villain. I understand that he gets a really good arc, but there's this thing in the back of my mind every time that I see him do something positive that tells me he tried to force himself on her. I understand that he was young, but there's no going back. This is comparable to Chuck Bass from Gossip Girl, which is also a very polarizing character. Either you love Chuck, his redemption arc, and now he's good. It was always good. He just needed someone to believe in him. But no, he is a well-known date rapist, and all the girls at Constance know this. Unfortunately, on the very first episode, on the pilot of Gossip Girl, he tries to force himself on Jenny, the little sister of the main character Dan, and he also tries to push himself onto Serena, who is already intoxicated. She is drunk by the time that he meets her, and he tries to exchange a sandwich for a hookup. Serena pushes him away, she kicks him, and ends up running away. So in one simple 40-minute episode, Chuck Bass already tried forcing himself onto 2 different girls. The not funny thing is that when he asks some of the mean girls from Constance, Blair's entourage, about who Jenny is, because he doesn't recognize us, he doesn't know her, and they tell him that there's nothing about her on Gossip Girl until he's done with her. So this is a well-known thing that he does this to girls at parties. I can see a little bit more of a point from the Gossip Girl band about Chuck Bass, because the situations with Chuck happen on the pilot. And on the pilot, for example, Blair's mother is played by a different actress than the rest of the show. And on the pilot, Chuck's mom is still alive. And on the rest of the show, she's famously dead, not dead. It's a whole thing that I'm not gonna spoil for you. I can see a little bit more of it happened in the pilot. It didn't quite really happen. We could take it with a grain of salt, even though in around season 2, Jenny talks to Chuck in a very angry manner about what happened with them at the Kiss on the Lips party, which is the party of the first episode of the pilot where he tried to force her. So they are telling me that that event did happen indeed, even though it wasn't the pilot. And in the pilot you got Chuck and Nate, 2 millionaire kids going to school by bus, which would never happen and has never happened on the show after the pilot. So we could take the pilot and some of the things that happened there with a grain of salt. But after Chuck goes to Prague and then comes back, he tries to reinvent himself and be a good guy, and then Eric tells Rufus, which is Jenny's father, about what happened on the pilot on that party where Chuck tried to force himself onto Jenny. So again, they keep talking about it and it did happen. In Jess's case, going back to Gilmore Girls, sorry for going a little bit off topic, but these things that happened with Jess and Rory didn't happen on a pilot, on a lost episode that might be canon or not. Even though in Jess's case, it is not exactly the same. He's not known for doing this to girls. It's still not a good look. I see so many edits of the characters together, Jess and Rory, and the comments are like, oh my god, I'm Team Jess, I'm Team Jess, I'm Team Jess, and I'm like, have you forgotten? Is it not that much of a red flag for you that you would just let go of what happened? I don't know, to me it's really, really crazy. And I end up always leaving a comment here and there being like, stop, please stop romanticizing this. He tried to force himself onto her. It doesn't matter that he was sad and mad that he wasn't going to graduate. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to Rory. It doesn't matter to Lorelai. I believe that if Lorelai would have known the details of what happened that night, she would have just gone to the police and done something about it. And if she would have told anybody else in town, anybody else would have done exactly the same as she would have and as she should have. It is a very serious thing. Rory looked distraught, and by the next day, she acts like nothing ever happened. She and Jess don't have a lot of time together after that because he ends up leaving town. And it's like a very concerning thing that the show and the showrunners and the writers decided to to make Jess the victim of this whole thing. They made it seem like Jess was the poor little thing that was abandoned by his father, and since he never had a father figure until he grew up and found Luke, they made it seem like his actions were like, oh no, these are mistakes from a lost boy. And he's not a lost boy, he's a felon, and he's already over 18, 19 at this point. By the time that Jess comes to Stars Hollow, Luke tells Lorelai that he has already gotten into a wee bit of trouble back in New York, and before anything blows up, Liz ends up sending Jess to go live with Luke for a while to see if he can, straighten him out. First thing he does is steal a beer from Lorelai's fridge. Luke tells Jess that he's gonna get him some keys, and Jess tells Luke that he doesn't need any keys. Luke is like, I so do not want to know why. So he stole some beer from someone he doesn't even know when he was invited to a home. He doesn't need keys because we can guess that he knows how to pick a lock. A while later, he does a few questionable things like drawing an outline of a dead body in front of Taylor's shop. He steals Babette's gnomes. He stole all the baseballs from school. And let's not forget that he crashed Rory's car. It doesn't matter if there was an animal on the road. He could have stopped. He just swerved. He destroyed the whole car, and he did nothing to repay her or Dean or Lorelai or say he's sorry. He is a mess. He is a messy person. He's not just a damaged little boy who is a little bit distant, and he cannot be vulnerable, and he cannot say what's truly on his mind out of fear of being judged and not supported due to his abandonment and daddy issues. I understand the mentality of being a broken person, since I consider myself to be broken as well, but yeah, there's no justification for the amount of damage that Jess has done. And in my book, he is unredeemable. I understand, and I was gonna say I understand and respect if you like Jess, but I can understand it. I don't respect it because to me, forcing someone, whether he was successful or not, the intention was there. So for me, he is a felon.
What can I do?
Stop him before he kills.
He's not gonna kill anyone. Where'd he get the money?
What?
The car, where'd he get it?
Maybe it was a gift from someone who doesn't know it's gone yet.
Thanks.
I'm helping.
He is a mess. He's just chaotic and not in a good, fun way. So I'm gonna end the video right here, and I hope to hear from you. Thank you for watching. If you stayed up to this point, I thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you soon. Stay tuned for more content. Bye.